everybody, KC0VI Tom here. It's starting to stay a little lighter out here when I come home from work. It doesn't get dark right away, so we're getting closer to spring. We got something to show you. Not those. Those are a weekend project and a weekend video, but in the completion of the video series on the FTM 400 DXR DRX Mars mod, I've hooked up the Yaesu 400 to my communication monitor and make sure it was working fine like that. And had a couple people DM me and had a couple guys at work stop says, that greenish box, what was that again? And where do I find one? And it's kind of went, I just didn't think about it. And oh yeah. So I'll show you what we got here. What we got here is a little box, kind of a greenish blue, turquoise, whatever you want to call it. In here, it's got a nice protecting cover over it. And inside, there's a lid. We got a little storage compartment. You get all your nice little goodies, stuff like that. And I'll grab a rubber duck antenna. Oh, no, I got a metal antenna. Set that off to the side. What a communication service monitor, or comm monitor for short, is kind of like a radio and a transmitter in a box. It's variable tuned. You can adjust the tone. You got a test tone. It's a simulate voice, 1 kHz test tone for all your testing. You just got your tone generator, so you can actually do a CTSC for your PL or call guard or private guard, wherever all the different manufacturers called about it. You know what they talked about. We'll put the antenna on and get it extended. Right now we have it set up to receive the National Weather Service off the St. Ansgar Tower. We'll turn up the intensity on the scope, and got squelch and volume down here. We'll drop the squelch. It worked during rehearsal. There we go. We're going to turn down the deviation. The temperature was 19 degrees. There we go. When I was setting up for the video, I was playing around with it, tuned it up to a couple FM stations, and I had to go up to a wider band on the bandwidth to be able to pull in the signal. But this is National Weather Service, and you can see all the peaks. You know, when the guy's talking, Evil Auto, and the other thing we can do here, we can try going up to 16255, but that transfers out of our area, 500. So it does have some, it's frequency agile. We'll go back to 450. There we go. There we go. And if you notice up here, this is our air meter on off-center carrier. We can go down to 1.5 deviations, and right now we're roughly, looks like 0.1 deviation. That would be 100 kilohertz off from center carrier. Normally on these things, if you're out in the field, you tune them up to something stable like WWV, or in this case, National Weather Service, and just kind of tweak that in lightly to get your zero beat. On this meter over here is our power coming off the radios. But when I was at Johnson's, DF Johnson's, that's where I got to know it worked. I was working in the instrumentation lab, and we had quite a different versions of manufacturers and versions and model numbers of these on the test checkout benches. We had a whole bunch of Cushmans, CE4, CE5, CE3, CE6s, CE30s, along with some Marconi's, HP, IFR, and one time the company wanted to try to streamline the equipment, standardize the communication monitor, so we were given the task to pick the top four we'd like, and we had a lot of the salespeople bring in what they had, and we had somebody bring one of these in an Ailtech FM 100 communication monitor. You got scope up here, so you can see the audio. You got your scope controls here. Down here on the antenna, this is an adjustable attenuator, so we can actually tune in, put in more attenuation, so you can see how good, reception, all that is down. Down here we got our tone generator and our test generator. You can also put in an external source, like if you want to do DTMF, you could have a DTMF pad here and feed the signal into here. Put that audio in here. This is our control tone for the repeater. Output for the scope, if you want another scope to look at, or to hook it up to your Cyanator, headphones. This is for off-air receptions, and you never ever you want to hook up a handheld to that input, because you'll blow the innards out. There is a fuse to protect it, and every once in a while those fuses will get zapped out by static electricity. When this came through the shop, it was a nice little rig, we all thought, till we started getting a little deeper into it. This is FM only. It will not do AM. It will not do single sideband. Something to remember. I was going to tune up WWV here to show you guys, and that's AM, and this will not do AM. I also tried hooking up to the HF vertical outside, and again, that will not do AM, so I couldn't bring in any signal, and I didn't know of any FM transmitters below 30 megahertz. So when we were running through the evaluation on all these different communication monitors that were coming in, comm monitors for short, turn our squelch up so we don't crank our needles over. But again, this one came in, looked real good till we started putting it against what we wanted. We wanted something that will do AM, because we still had an AM line. At the time, E.F. Johnston was still running the Comco aircraft radios. Comco was a small company in Florida they bought out. It mainly supplied radios and handhelds for airports, where you could put a AM transceiver into, say, the truck or the fuel truck or the snowplow truck, and where you could give it to some of the utility guys, a handheld, AM handheld. They could talk to the Unicom, or if it had a small control tower, or if a pilot was requesting coming in on the Unicom, they could talk back to them. So that kind of put this out of competition along. It won't do some of the other digital information, like cell systems that have a digital channel. They send all the information to and from the cell site and to the cell mobile to go to this channel, go to this channel. Same with the LTR or the 900 megahertz. LTR is a trademark of E.F. Johnston, was their trunking system. What we did here, we tuned this up to the local repeater here in St. Ansgar. And if you're interested in what we did, we picked out, our top four were Marconi, HP, IFR, and Motorola. And for some reason, Motorola got in there. We were out kind of over it. We were just told to pick the best, and the bean counters got involved, and they picked the Motorola R2000 family. If I ever come across one of those, we'll talk about those. Those are not too bad if you're going to use it like this one is. So turn my Redidi, and we're on the local St. Ansgar channel. KC0 VII testing 1 2 3 4 4 3 2 1.
This is KC0VI.
Now you can see the control tone there is the bass, and the audio rating on top of it, and the Roger beep. Let's get a little more. Yeah, but you can also go to the input of the repeater, 600 up, so that'd be 147,795. And we gotta be careful not to get too close to the antenna. Test 1 2 3 4 4 3 2 1. KC0 VII. As we change the input attenuation, test. You can see how the signal gets fuzzier and fuzzier. We're 70 dB down. We're putting out 5 watts. We're dropping at 70 dB. So we'll go back up to 0 and go back out to the output of the repeater. We'll take off a rubber duck. And we have an adapter to go from the antenna connection, SM whatever, being protected. Somebody drove down the street. Probably should turn the handhold off when I do this so I don't accidentally key it up. Wouldn't be good to key up a radio without an antenna. They don't like that. Okay, we got that on. That not a very good connection. I should probably order the correct SMA adapter. We'll hook this up to the transceiver, and we got a 40 dB pad. What we should be able to do is over here on the input power, yeah, top scale is our watts going out. Nope, bottom scale is watts. And right now we are on the ×1. So we key it up, and we're up about 4.5 watts coming out of the output of the radio, which isn't bad. And we can also kick in a multiply of 10. So now this wattage on the bottom is 120 instead of 12. We key it up, it just barely deflects the needle. I should go through and do an adjustment on the, zero out the needle. It looks like it's pretty good. But the manual, I did find a manual for this, and I can go through and adjust it with the noise going in there, no quieting. That's why our air is off. Let's try drop down here so we're not keying up the repeater. 147.55, which is just a simplex channel in the area. And if we key up, that's showing a fairly good. No, because I forgot an extra 5 in there. That's why we're 5 kilos off. See, now we're almost dead on. We can actually drop it down to 1.5, and we're a little high. The radio's putting a little high according to this. But then again, when we're playing WWV, this is showing a little bit low for WWV. So I'll have to sit down and go through that. These can be very handy if you just want to check your radios. If you come across a used one, you could hook it up to this and just make sure it transmit receives. Check the power out. Now be careful when you're keying into the transceiver, because a lot of these will have a notation down here, a 50% duty cycle. After 5 minutes of key in, or X amount of time key in, make sure you're unkeyed for that same amount of time. And never ever hook it up to the antenna input. That would be not good. That is just receive only. This is transmit receive. If you go to a lot of Hamfest, a lot of the videos I was watching from Hamcation, there was a lot of communication monitors down there. I saw a lot of Motorola's, a lot of IFRs, a lot of HPs. Go through there on your phone, just real quickly, Google the manufacturer model number and see what the specs are. There are some of these, like this girl, were just made for a niche market, for FM only. There are some that were just made for cell. They were, they only had that frequency band cut in there for the cell and the cell data, and that's the only thing it was good for. The one that I'd really like to find, Ramsey Electronics used to be real big in kit building. They also came out with an RF line for pager repair, and they were getting into land mobile repair before they decided that the cost of insurance for liability on the kit side was getting too much, so they closed down the kit side of the company, and the RF side wasn't mature enough to keep the company going. They tried it for a while, then they finally just, no, it's not going to work, so they shut it all down. They had a Ramsey communication monitor called the COM3, if I remember right. It's a nice little box. I always wanted to get one of those, but could never find one at a decent price. And then they came out with a second one, a communication monitor that was a little bit better, bigger, had a scope on it, LCD displays. You'll see a lot of these. And again, at the manufacturing site, what we have to do is, after the radio was built, we'd hook it up, put in 0 dB on the frequency and tune the receiver up. And each time we got done tuning the IF strip, you would kick in a couple dBs, 10 dBs of attenuation, lower that frequency or lower that signal going into the radio, and go back through. And you keep doing that till you got down to a signal level of Eddie F. Johnson. We were always shooting for 0.25 microvolts, very low signal. Then you would turn around and do the same thing on the transmit side. You put a lot of pad in there, key up the radio, tune up, make sure you're on frequency. The carrier was nice and clean. You didn't have any spikes, side lobes coming out. And as you did that, you would slowly, work on that. So you're always running the attenuator up and down. So if you find one that came out of a manufacturing deal, check the attenuator out really good, very well, because it has a lot of use. But for field use, a lot of these were very well taken care of, because that's what's made the shop money. This one will not run on batteries. It's 120 volts or 12 volts DC. It has a cigarette lighter in the box. But the Motorola's, the IFRs, the Ramseys, all of them had a small gel pack or a NiCad pack in the back that was, you could pop that out and replace it very easily. There were, you could actually take them out on a picnic table and work on radios. Something to have if you are a club member, you come across one of these at a flea market or a Hamfest. Take a good serious look at it. Something that a club may want to own. So if members are working on like your club repeater, really? Anybody want a cat? I got two. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm using her stool. But something the club may want to look at, there's getting to be a lot of these on the market. The supply of those is going to dry up because the VHF, UHF land mobile band is pretty much drying up. Since they mandated everybody to go down to narrowband, I know a lot of services in and around St. Ansgar, Mason City, dropped off the RF side and just went to straight cell phones because the cell phone prices were cheap enough they could afford that. A lot of your public safety, police, fire, ambulance, rescue are being pushed up to the trunking up to 700 meg, 800 meg. So just make sure when you're looking at one of these, it will do the VHF and UHF band. Like this one here, you can dial this down to 10 megahertz or less than 10 megahertz, but since it's FM only, we can't pick up WWV. So, for the guys who are out there asking me questions, still light out. It's getting closer to spring. It's a communication monitor. We use these a lot. I started out at a shop running on a Singer, 10C, I think it was the model number. That thing was a beast, and it was heavy. And I always dreaded the days I had to run out to the local sheriff's department repeater and do a test on those because got it out there. You got to plug it in, wait at least a half hour for the thing to stabilize, and because the local oscillator wasn't an oven oscillator, it was just heat from the equipment itself. But again, you come across one of these, Google the manufacturer model numbers, see what the specs are. Is that something you're looking at getting? Make sure the operator or the seller lets you play around with it. Tune it into the local AM, FM radio stations on your handheld. Just dial up to one of the simplex channels and just don't get too close to the antenna, and do not hook up to your handheld to the device until you own it, unless the person, the seller, is going to give you strict permission to do it, and they may want to hook it up for you. If you do any type of field day, the club may want to set one of these up on the side and have a couple guys run it for club members to bring in the radios and have them checked out. Make sure they are within tolerances. This one does not have a spectrum analyzer, so you cannot check for your side lobes, your upper and lower sideband. Make sure those lobes are below specification. They're supposed to be so many dB down from the main carrier. But again, I've had a couple of these over the years. I'll get them, kind of play around with them, clean them up a little bit, and somebody will say, "Gee, that's real nice." You sell it to them what I got into it. I have another one underneath the bench I'm going to try to get to. I picked it up on eBay. It was operating intermittently, and I believe that was another Ailtech. Not this one, but it was a different version of the Ailtech had out there. And we had a couple of those float to the repair shop up there at E.F. Johnson from the field service guys were using it. They had a problem with, in the power supply, the tantalum capacitor, a certain type of capacitor would short out, or sometimes it would short out, sometimes it wouldn't short out. It was real intermittent. So, well, repeater's telling me to get off the channel, so we're going to call this one good. 7-3 everybody. Storm season's coming. Check your National Weather Service's website. A lot of storm classes are taking place. We got a couple coming up here in the area, so take care. Stay safe. Be sure to tell your friends, neighbors, other hams. Subscribe, hit that bell to get notification when new videos come out. Add comments below. 7-3 everybody. Okay, 3. Frog in the throat. 3, 2. Hey everybody. Okay. I was afraid of this.